Bitcoin is ranging and is showing a lot of conflicting signs, and I'm gonna try to make sense of it and try and come up with some plans here. But first, let me speed run a recap of what I've been looking at. So, the most recent super significant thing that we've done is we've taken out this range high. We took it out with a lot of bear divs across many different time frames and then fell back within the range, losing key levels like the point of control, which is still approximately the same. Did actually move down slightly, and another thing actually changed. We have a different value area high. The value area high has moved down significantly, which does make that 68 to 68.5K area a lot more interesting, I would say, but that's besides the point. This kind of thing can lead to range rotations. We've been ranging basically since down here. This was another very significant development, and yeah, this range high deviation could cause us to continue rotating to the downside, could cause an overall reversal of this up move. And in my last video, I pointed out that we were seeing some bullishness here, possibly trying to invalidate this bit of bearishness. And since my last video, we have broken out of this range where we saw the bullish things at the lows, but we have rejected from an area confluence the golden pocket and the point of control. And yeah, right now we are retracing. On the higher time frames, like on the 4 hour, this does look like, we had a range. We saw bullish divs on the lows, at least with momentum on the 4 hour. I believe on some of the lower time frames, there were money flow divs, like on this 1 hour. And then we broke out, found some resistance somewhere, and are now just retracing. So it does look like there is potential for, some kind of higher low to come in. I think this bullishness could still be valid, and it could possibly reverse this entire bearish move that we had since then. Currently, we are sandwiched in between two very important points: the point of control of the macro range and the value area low of that macro range. And because we have a range high around that very significant point and we have a range low right around that very significant point, these are basically going to be my decision points. I think breaking past the point of control and the range high opens the door to a move on the larger range high, possibly even up to this high volume node. And then if we break that, we'll see if we can get a move up to this new value area high. But I also think that losing the value area low and this range low could basically, revalidate this overall range rotation idea. This could make me think that, hey, maybe we rotate lower. Possibly we find support somewhere close to price. Possibly we don't. We could end up rotating back down to some of these range lows. And I will say that at the moment, Market Cipher is not helping me out in this indecision. I think there's a lot of conflicting signs here. I'll quickly run over those. So we printed a new weekly candle. The VWAP right now is continuing to the downside. Doesn't mean it's going to cross over and print a trigger wave, reversing this green dot and that upward move in momentum. I have seen many times, especially on the higher time frames, the VWAP will kind of stall out. It'll get little moves to the upside before crossing to the downside across the zero line, and that can give momentum time to really get a move up before it reverses. So that is the most leading indicator in terms of all the oscillations, but it is somewhat significant that it's continuing to the downside. However, money flow on the weekly is actually doing something kind of bullish. It's moving to the upside and is trying to take out the last lower high in this downtrend. Now on the daily, again, conflicting things. I mean, this was looking pretty bullish just like a day ago. It looked like we had a trigger wave, very good direction, anchor to trigger wave, money flow also overall increasing during that time. But it is starting to look like that trigger wave may fail, the VWAP immediately cutting back to the downside. If you zoom in on the momentum wave, you can even see the light gray part cutting downwards, getting close to the edge of that dark gray part. So yeah, it's looking like that trigger wave may fail. I do think money flow still looks good. It's in a healthy local uptrend at the moment, and actually, just had in a sense, anchor to trigger wave here, some kind of nice direction with some decent follow through. So I would say, if we can kind of reverse this and kind of hold this trigger wave, get momentum to cross over, get the VWAP turning back to the upside, this still could look pretty bullish. We could even play a little red dot green dot where momentum starts coming back down, prints another green dot, and it just becomes an ugly trigger wave, but it still may have the same effect. But, something that is also concerning is that we have kind of put in a double top with money flow here. It's only reversing a little bit, but I think if we start to see money flow, in a sense, fall off a cliff here, that's not really a good look. We weren't able to put in a higher high following this, but a bullish direction. So, yeah, I think if this trigger wave fails and money flow starts falling back to the downside, that would start to look like this bullishness that we're seeing maybe failing a little bit. Now, the thing I want to point out about the 4 hour is that currently we do have overall direction with money flow on the 4 hour. We have put in a higher low here, and it looks like we're maybe trying to make another higher low if we can get this, curving back to the upside, get another overall curvature in the red that is, this much of a higher low. I think that would be a good look, especially since the last few times that money flow was in the red down here, price was much lower than where it's at currently. Right now we are significantly higher. It, appears like possibly the move down, the bearishness that it took to get money flow back in the red was not as strong as the times previous, because price only retraced a little bit, and now it's starting to show a bit of bullishness here. But looking locally, it looks a little funky, I would say. We kind of had some decent curvature going on here if this direction continued, but we kind of broke that trend. We're turning back to the downside, and this may just end up looking like an ugly money flow wave, but we still could just kind of bottom out close to where we did previously, still make a higher low to back here. And there is also the possibility of an anchor to trigger wave here with momentum. There won't really be great direction with money flow, at least locally within the space, but if we're printing a higher low compared to back here, it still could look decent. But the 3 hour, it does appear like things are trying to move lower in terms of market cipher. This looks like a weak move in the green. Money flow is already turning back to the downside. Momentum tried to print a green dot here, but the VWAP cut back down aggressively. Momentum moved lower. So it seems like things may continue to the downside on this 3 hour. On the 2 hour, this looks like a stronger move in the green, but it is starting to curve over a little bit. My question is, does it look like that overall curvature will result in, a higher low of sorts, just a bit of a retracement, or may this end up coming all the way back down? That's my question. So let's go to the lower time frames, and the 1 hour is looking weak. We do have a trend to the downside. We already tried to, hold the zero line for support once. We got a weak move from it. We're already coming back down towards that zero line. And the 45-minute is putting in local lower lows. We could still put in a higher low compared to here, but this down direction locally does not look good at the moment. So at least locally on the lower time frames, it seems like things are kind of pointing more bearish. We can kind of use that to judge the confusion on the higher time frames, but again, I'm still planning for long and short trades. I'm just looking to trade the range. I do have a few ideas locally. I think in general, as long as we're continuing to range here, if I see bearish things anywhere kind of in between the point of control or the range high, I think I'll be looking for local trades, local short trades. And if we see bullishness around the low, although I kind of don't really want to travel all the way back down there, this could just become a larger range. We could stay in here for a while. Maybe we see some bullish here. But I would really prefer to see something a bit more locally and us not really range here. I think for the bull's sake, we would want to break above this point of control, which is why I am currently very interested in this general idea. So this idea started with me wanting to take out this low back here. We front ran it here, and we basically just left a bunch of higher lows on the way up. We already took out a bunch of them. I think we took out all of the higher lows except for this one and down. So there are still a few higher lows, possibly some liquidity down there. And then I noticed that the golden pocket from that low to this high is right there, which gives us some nice confluence to SFPing this low. Then I found something else pretty interesting. If you take the volume profile of the 4th of October from that daily close to the daily close previous, which was 20 o'clock on the 3rd, we have an NDPOC right there as well. So some super interesting confluence right around that zone. That's really right now my most interesting idea, I think. And of course, I'm not gonna just be trading this because it looks juicy. I need to see the right confirmations there. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be taking 1% risk on it regardless. So I'm planning for that not to work, but it does look like a juicy idea, so might as well mention it. And yeah, this is just another scalp idea that I had. There are equal lows here. If you look right up here at this L, this shows you the low of the candle. And this one was 810. This one was 810. So exact equal. That means that we didn't take the liquidity from this low. So I am possibly looking at a little scalp from that zone. Definitely not looking at it as juicy of a trade as this one though. But those are the two ideas that I'm currently looking at. Other than that, I'm just going to continue trading local price action. We got ranges all over the place. We got a mini range here. We got this range, which I think is a very significant range at the moment. Probably the most significant decision point range at the moment. I mean, that's it. Really, I'm not really considering much else aside from that until something changes here. So, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. I appreciate all of the support, and I will see you all in the next video.